Joining me today is Mr. Nischal Shetty. He's the CEO and founder of WazirX. Mr. Shetty, many thanks for speaking to PTI.
Hey, Mamita. Thanks a lot for having me here.
Let's start with the restructuring. It's been several months after restarting of operations, full restructuring underway. Where does WazirX stand today in terms of user activity, the volumes, and the most important element, which is rebuilding trust?
Yeah, so we, went live after the restructuring around October 2025, 24th of October. And it's been a good, I would say 6, 7 months since then, where the first phase of our launch was ensuring that, the 85% that we were redistributing, it was to ensure that the redistribution happened in a proper manner. And we accomplished that. Everyone got back 85% of the value. And then from there, we started figuring out how do we, go on this rebuilding journey of ours. And there are no, I don't think there is any precedent for something like this. I mean, exchanges that have had, attacks of the magnitude like ours, they've usually wound down and been unable to like restructure and restart. There have been restructurings, but they've not converted into a restart. So we are probably one of those, rare situations where we've restarted with the objective that how do you earn back the 15% and distribute that back to all our creditors. So it was a unique path for us. What we focus on was trust building and even more than that on product, because ultimately, to build trust, you need to have like the best product in the industry. And we've been focusing on that, which meant innovating, coming up with new features, listening to customer feedback really closely. We also focused on our customer support. For example, what we realized in the crypto industry, customer support is not really something that's always looked deeply into. Everyone's busy, like building their trading systems, but they forget the pain point of the customers on the ground. So we started focusing on our customer satisfaction score, the CSAT. When we launched, for example, our CSAT was in the 60% range, and only last month we crossed about I think 90%, and that's purely focusing on what the customer queries are, what the customer problems are, and how do you fix them, how do you respond to customers in the shortest possible time. So that these are the kind of improvements that we've been working. Apart from that, in terms of features, for example, we launched WazirX ZERO, which was an innovation. No one's done that before, where you just pay a fixed monthly fee of about 100 rupees, and then you can trade unlimited on the spot market. Traditionally, all of the exchanges, they will always charge you for every trade. And for anyone who trades, even let's say a few lakh rupees a month, the fees quickly add up to thousands of rupees. But here with this 100 rupees, you could trade even 10 lakh, 1 crore a month, and you will only end up paying just a 100 rupee monthly fee. So there's absolutely no trading fees once you pay the monthly charges. And that's really worked well for us. Our customers have been happy. They've been able to just focus on trading. The maths is easy. When you trade, you don't have to worry about what's the deduction there. You buy crypto for 100 rupees, you get crypto worth 100 rupees. There's no losing out in fees or stuff like that. So that's really been helpful. It's also helpful because there's a 1% TDS in the crypto markets in India. So no fees helps reduce the burden on a lot of the traders. So that's been one of our innovation that we went to market with. Then a couple of months back, we launched WazirX Futures. Now, futures is something that after the TDS coming into the spot market, a lot of traders, the high frequency traders, they've moved to futures trading. And we wanted to make sure that we can, deliver that product as well. So we've launched futures. We are taking an approach where we are teaching people or explaining to them the challenges around futures because it's a complicated product. We don't want people to just jump into it. So we even have like a Q&A before you can even use it. So you have to go through a series of questions, and after you answer them, correctly, only then do you get access to futures product. So futures was the other thing. Now we are working on a series of new features. One of the thing I'm the most excited about is we are bringing WazirX AI. If you look at what's been happening in the AI ecosystem, right? AI is sort of changing this whole approach to how you manage or use applications. It's going from the traditional looking into the UI, pressing the buttons, to now just talking and having a conversation to get things done. And I think in trading as well, I think that's the future where instead of trying to learn how a trading interface operates, where the stop losses are, how do you fill up a form. I think the more natural way of trading for people will be where you just instruct your AI to do things for you, and it does it. For example, you want to buy Bitcoin, and the current price is, let's say, X, and you believe you want to buy it when it falls by 5%. So you just tell the AI that, buy Bitcoin when it drops by 5%. I feel that's a much more natural and easy direction to go rather than, doing the math on what's that 5% and then setting a limit order and then figuring out a stop loss. It's just so much natural to work with AI. So we are working on that, and we intend to, that's like the next feature that we are going to launch very soon.
Right. I'll come back to each one of these, including AI and the futures. But is there a number you have in terms of where you've come again on user activity volumes? Have they come back to the original levels, closer to that? Is there a way to assess that?
Yeah, I think we are far away from the original level. So we used to be I think we used to have 50 to 60% market share in trading volumes. We are probably at about 8 to 10% now. We've got a few $1 million worth of trades happening every day. But that puts us in, the less than 10% market share. So it fluctuates, but I think somewhere in the 7 to 10% market share. And I think it's going to be a series of improvements that we'll have to do. Our aim is to again get back to 50% plus market share, but it's going to take some time. But it's not too bad. We see tens of thousands of people trading every day, or at least opening the app every day and looking at their portfolio or trading. So from there now we have to continue to grow this. But yeah, I would say we are at about 8 to 10% market share now.
And you're hopeful that some of these new products and innovations that you're lining up will help you do that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's so when we launched in 2018 also, we were not the first ones. And we were like the eighth or the 10th exchange. And we started with 0% market share. And it took us about 4 years to reach number one position. After the attack, now we are starting with, probably a better market share than how we started back then. And the competition is still similar. It's obviously gotten more matured. There are mature players now. There's a larger ecosystem. But I think we are pretty confident that if we focus on the product and the customer service, like what we've done before, we will be able to, break through and become the largest again.
Given the rollout of futures trading and these new products, how important is the strategy going to be for your overall growth, bringing of new products and innovations? And what has been the initial response from users on futures, for instance? Also, what are the products, what is the product lineup that most excites you for the next 12 months?
I think for futures, people have been, very open to that. We've seen, rapid growth. In fact, I think uh, it's been just, a couple of months, but we are seeing week on week, the futures volume is constantly increasing. So we are on an upward trend. Still early days because we already have a large user base who wanted to try futures. So futures was done after we got a lot of requests and feedback from our customers. So there's an uptick trend now. It's growing at a rapid pace, and we believe that it's continued to grow. What we've done is we've made sure that we make the interface really easy to use, and we've also made sure that we ensure that people are aware of the kind of exposure they need to take in futures, the risk involved, all of those. So that's also sort of a trust building exercise that is important for any platform to do. So yeah, I think futures will continue to increase. In terms of what are we most excited about is AI, the AI feature that we are building. I think that has a great potential to make it very, very easy for people to trade. And in terms of product, we are always focusing on that. How do you make it easier and better for people to trade in crypto. And AI seems to be that approach. It's just a natural way of you to interact with someone. It's as good as having, let's say, a person who's really an expert in trading, and you don't have to learn all that. You just have to tell them what you want, and they'll get it done for you. I think that's the approach that we are taking right now in our product, which is don't spend your time trying to learn the systems. You can spend your time researching, understanding. Now, even in the research, the AI can help you. So let's say instead of, the traditional way is you have to go to Google and then search, and then maybe you'll go to Reddit, you'll go to Twitter. But with WazirX AI, what you'll be able to do is you can tell the AI that, look, I need to get to know about, let's take Bitcoin, for example. I need to know where Bitcoin is headed. And the way to do that is, why don't you look into the latest news articles around Bitcoin? You look into some of the tweets around Bitcoin and tell me whether the sentiment seems to be a positive one or a negative one. And that's just so easy to instruct. The AI can then behind the scene do all of this research for you and get you the content, and then you can decide. You should look at yourself being the decision maker rather than today. What happens is, you're an all-in-one. You have to do the research, you have to go through all of these, you have to then keep track of all of the movements of your various portfolios. All of this now gets into one AI system, and you become like the boss. You're trading like a boss. What's happening? Okay, you tell me. All right, now I'll take a decision. Do we go long on this, or do we go short? Do we buy it? Do we sell it? Do we hold it? I think that's the power that we want to give to customers, so that they become the decision maker rather than having to execute and having to research, having to do all of that manually, which is a very, very slow process today. And I think that time that you save is where you can actually go faster and have a better chance of getting returns than spending time on just collecting the research documents, or trying to fill up a form on a trading system. I think all of that can be done away with, which is where WazirX AI, we are really excited about it.
Right, AI is in fact becoming a core layer across. I can't think of a sector where it is not becoming sort of part of the DNA now. How do you see it transforming this area of crypto trading, security, compliance, even user experience over the next few years as an industry?
I think at the top level, right? It just opens up access to more people. Traditionally, what has happened is people were really worried whether they can be a trader or not. Um, and I think that was a barrier to entry. Now you don't have to worry whether you can be a trader or not. You have the same research at your disposal because of AI. What you need to figure out is how much of capital do you invest, how much risk you want to take, what is your risk appetite. It's more of these questions that you need to first figure out. Once you do that, then the discipline of trading, for example, you can work with AI. It brings that discipline. A lot of traders lose money because they panic, or because they take a decision on a whim. Like they'll see a random post online by some random person saying this token will go up by X percentage, and they'll go and buy. While now what you can do is you can treat them as signals, but you can ask the AI, is this true? Or is there enough data to back this claim? And then take a decision. So I think it will open up access. AI will definitely open up access to more people investing with less fear. And the second is it will make everyone a better decision maker and a better trader. And it will reduce the panic that retail is known for. It's unfortunate, but retail is known for panic selling, panic buying also, like FOMO buying and panic selling. And I hope with AI systems, people reduce that the emotional baggage that comes in trading. I think you should be able to keep that aside, and AI can really help you with that.
Right. The security challenges that the company faced, how has WazirX post that invested in security upgrades? And what has been your total approach, overall approach to custody, risk management, and platform security? What are the big learnings for you from that incident?
Yeah, see, I think we've always believed that we are a trading system, and we wanted to focus on that, giving you an excellent platform where you can trade, ensuring that trades happen really fast, and ensuring we comply all the compliances. And we've always been doing that. In terms of crypto storage custody, we did go with a third party, and this is where it was unfortunate. There was an attack on that infrastructure, which led to this. What we've realized is that when it comes to custody, I think choosing the biggest and the largest player is very, very important, especially in a sector like crypto, which is fast evolving. There's a lot of threat actors out there. Uh, so what we did is we went with BitGo. BitGo is the largest, in the world, the largest custody provider in the world. They're also an IPO'd company in the US, and they're worth multiple billions of dollars in market cap. And they also custody tens of billions of dollars. So they're the best. So we went with BitGo now, where majority of our funds, our cold wallets, are with BitGo. And we also, tied up with we just integrate. We are in the process of integrating Fireblocks. Now Fireblocks is more for the operations part. So and they're the other larger infrastructure provider, again based on from the US, but globally one of the biggest. So BitGo and Fireblocks are like the best of the best, the biggest name in the industry when it comes to custody and crypto infrastructure. And now we've signed up with both of them. We've integrated BitGo already. So majority of the cold wallets and the funds are with BitGo in BitGo custody. And for operation, now we are integrating Fireblocks. So these two are like, and I would say in general, for anyone who's, having a platform, uh, the key for that platform is to focus on the trading and figure out the best custody provider. And I think in this industry, it's always good to go with the best of the best. Any new startups and all, it's just unfortunate, but I think it's better not to go with, let's say, relatively lesser known names in the custody business.
Right. You mean track record and history, and in terms of the length and breadth of services, a provider who can assure better, safeguards there would be advisable.
Yeah, yeah. See, the only thing is, the history, the
Yeah.
the crypto industry itself is like 7 years where it's been something substantial. So, and we were in this now. Yes, now when you want to track, let's say, history and track record, you might have 4, 5 years, but that's about it. Like when you go to the traditional systems, right? You got institutions that are 10
Decades
years,
old.
20 years, 50 years. Yeah. So it's still complicated, but I would say today it's far better than for us when we were making decisions in 2022, 2023. I think today you have some history, yes. So you can look at it. You have track records. You have now large companies that have emerged from the multiple players that were there back then. So now I think, yeah, everyone's in a far better position to take that decision today.
How do you see the Indian crypto market evolving over next, say, 3 to 5 years? And what are the key policy regulatory changes that industry would like to see from the government to support innovation, while at the same time, looking at investor protection?
I think look, the crypto industry has been unanimously, talking about the TDS, which has really impacted the high volume traders. So, because of that 1% TDS, what's happened is, if you're a long-term investor, it doesn't matter because when you're selling, it's okay to uh, uh, have 1% TDS deducted. Anyways, you can then adjust it out. But when you're a high frequency trader who's trading, let's say 10 times, 100 times a day, and you're rotating your entire capital, that 1% really adds up. It actually makes it almost impossible to be a day trader in crypto spot markets. And that's something the industry has been, requesting for reducing or eliminating. I think 0.01% or a complete elimination would be a better way that would help the industry. In terms of regulation, if you look at what's happening globally, right, there's a few things that have emerged. One is crypto payments. Payments as a use case has really emerged to be a strong player in the US, in the EU, everywhere else. Simply because it opens up the payment rails around the world. Now, in India, for local payments, we've got UPI, and that's working really well. But for international payments, I think India can definitely look at how to integrate these crypto rails to make international transfers really instant and cheap for everyone, especially remittance and all. And I think we are seeing some experiments happening in around the industry in the remittance space. I think apart from that, in terms of regulation, we can now look at the EU, the US, and I think probably it's time for India to come up with some more regulatory direction. Now, with the FIU guidelines and stuff, I think we've solved the KYC, AML, all of those things. What we've not solved for right now is, let's say, consumer protection, ensuring that exchanges do the right thing, because today it's still the wild, wild west. And till you don't bring some sort of, I would say, basic rules, like ensuring that every exchange has a physical presence in India if you're going to serve the Indian customers. I think stuff like that, which in the US has existed for a long time. Like, you need to take some US local licenses and operate there to service the US customers. You can't be having a company somewhere outside and then serve the customer. And I think that's something very straightforward. India could, really do that quickly. And then the new trend that's emerging, which is uh, RWAs, the real world asset tokenization. I think that's something that India can 100% participate and really open up, access to these alternate investment options. For example, tokenizing real estate. Now that's something that's really taking off globally, where traditionally, if you're a person who wants to invest in, let's say, real estate, you cannot do that unless you're thinking of putting in 1 crore, 2 crore rupees and buying an entire like a piece of land or an apartment or a office space. What RWA does is it tokenizes that property into smaller chunks. So you could even invest 1 lakh rupees, let's say, into buying a piece of land, which is worth maybe 10 lakh or a crore, because there's other people who will buy the other piece because it's tokenized. And these experiments are really working well around the world right now. And I think in India we should get into these real world asset tokenization. This is just an example, but there's all sorts of anything that's in the offline world today, or anything that has a physical presence, or even in the traditional financial space, could actually be tokenized, which allows access not just to people in our country, but also global access, which also brings in global liquidity, which will actually help create larger value for our real estate, for any commodities that are allowed to get into this. Absolutely anything, any alternate investments. If you want to open up liquidity, if you want to open up access, this tokenization is an amazing approach. And we are seeing that happen around the world today. And I feel it's high time that India actually gets into it. It's going to just increase the value for everyone involved. For the person who's selling, for the person who's buying, it improves access. So I think it's a win-win. And RWAs are really taking off. So I think India should figure out how to get involved in that.
Nischal, before we wrap up and let you go, I wanted to ask you the top priorities for WazirX over the next 12 months, and what milestones should people watch out for?
Yeah, I think for us, the number one priority is making generating profits so that we can distribute it to our creditors. That's like the ultimate goal, and that's what we are focusing on. Uh, and the way to do that is to launch innovative products. WazirX AI, for example, is the next launch that we are working on. We're also working on staking. Staking is something that helps people get yield on their existing assets. Uh, and futures, what we have launched, we are going to double down on that, make it easier, make it faster, and much more accessible for people. So these are the top three things. Apart from that, we intend to focus on customer support, which I think we've already hit 90% customer satisfaction scores. We want to take it beyond that. We want to be like the best customer focused platform for anyone in India.
The profitability will also be important for the 10-15% RTs that you have to, over a period of time, the ones that cannot be traded right now. From that perspective, also profits will become important for the company, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've distributed recovery tokens, RT tokens. What that does is, when we have profits to distribute, we use that profit to buy back those tokens, and that's how value can be created for those tokens. And that's why profits are really important, so that we can buy back those tokens and distribute the money to our creditors.
Great, Nischal Shetty. It was wonderful speaking to you, sir. And many thanks for speaking to PTI. We hope to catch up with you again.
Thanks, Mohamida. Thanks a lot for having me here.